o'clock. So I would like to call the January meeting of the Manitowoc County Board to order. It looks like we have a couple of supervisors who still need to mark themselves present. We will start with invocation by Supervisor Weiss, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, we ask your blessings on the people who have been called to lead our community in which we live, work, and play. Help us as leaders to not ask first, how do we fix this, but what do we need to learn, how might we need to change, and to whom do we need to listen. Remind us that we are not leaders, but also servants, and that it is our responsibility to serve the common good of all. Grant us the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right, good, and true. May we speak out when it is time to speak out and listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor Weiss. Roll call is going around. 24 members are present and we have a quorum. First item up for business is consideration and correction of the minutes from our last meeting. I'd be looking for a motion to approve. Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Heller. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. There are no additions or deletions to the agenda. We have no reports. That'll take us into public comment. So are there any members of the public who wish to speak tonight? Yes, Ms. Moore. All right, and if you would just please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Sue Lynn Moore, 5106 Scenic Court here in Manitowoc. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but then I read the resolution that you're voting on. Microphone down? I read the resolution that you're voting on tonight and found it disappointing. It's so self-serving. You chose to have 2 citizens when the original discussion was 5. I did get a bit of an explanation on that, but whatever. You offer no criteria for those 2 people, and that is significant, I think. I think they need some knowledge of construction or finance or something. To me, the worst part of the resolution, there isn't any mention about studying the feasibility of the project, or any mention, is there an alternative to this restoration at this exorbitant sum? I think that some of the, well wait, I messed up. The resolution does say completion, will be done at the completion of the project. Again, does that mean full restoration? I see a lot of holes in there for, I think some of the people on the board are in kind of a smaller bubble than the kind of bubble we talk about people in DC, our Congress people. A lot of you can afford a tax increase, but the rest of us, I feel like you're saying, that's our problem. At time right now, a lot of people are struggling. And personally, I find a bit of arrogance here on some of the county board members in proposing a $30 million restoration that could be done, I'm sure, differently.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak? Any other members of the public who would like to speak? Yes, Ms. Yost.
Good evening. County Executive Ziegelbauer states that the half-cent on a dollar spent sales tax, quoting, will generate approximately $7 million to $9 million a year and will take 4 to 5 years. Ziegelbauer also states, quote, once a sales tax is implemented, it's historically hard to cancel. As our county's legislators, you know that you can resolve, that is, make a resolution, that the half-cent on a dollar spent sales tax be used for a specific purpose and can be sunsetted, that is, ended, on a future date certain. My point is that it can be crafted in such a way to avoid being, quote, historically hard to cancel. I have already documented to you the principal amounts of his proposed and adopted budgets, which was $44 million over his tenure, that with the interest and fees, the budgeted amount increased to $60 million. The actual amount are $36,000 plus property taxpayers paid was $74 million. And our county's expenses documented in the CAFR regularly exceeded our principal budgeted amounts. And I have documented to you our county's poor credit rating under Ziegelbauer's management. So bad, in fact, that he had to lobby Moody's to remove the negative rating in a move that Moody's characterized as, quote, unusual. So basically, Ziegelbauer is asking you to approve $30 million in principal borrowing without knowing the interest and the fees, so you wouldn't know the final cost to your constituents are $36,000 plus property taxpayers. I suggest an advisory referendum on this issue, but you must act fast to meet the April 4th election ballot deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yost. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak tonight? Any members of the public who'd like to speak? For a third and final time? Seeing none, I'll close public input and we'll move into appointments by the county executive. Tonight we have one. The appointment is for Natasha Khan to serve on the Manitowoc Calumet Library Board's System Board of Trustees. Do I see a motion? Motion by Supervisor Niles. Second by Supervisor Mink. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the appointment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Committee reports. Planning and Park Commission. Supervisor Falkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is no report, but as an announcement, Park and Planning meeting is scheduled for January 23rd at the Expo Complex. Our hearings will start at 3:30. Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Falkowski. Aging and Disability Board. Supervisor Wagner.
The ADRC's next meeting will be January 24th, 2023 at 10 a.m. in the basement of this building. That's the rest of my report. That's the end of it.
Thank you, Supervisor Wagner. Board of Health. Supervisor Metzger.
We met January 12th. The health officer report, COVID-19 cases have stayed consistent with 7 a day. Total 24,780. Hospitalizations in the Northeast region have risen with 7-day average, 52 people hospitalized. COVID-19 deaths continue with 11 deaths reported since our last meeting, total of 216 deaths in Manitowoc County. Health Department is administering the booster shots every Friday from 10 to 4. A respiratory virus update after an aggressive and early influenza. We are seeing a decline. For the nurse manager report, COVID-19 remains the number one disease, Influenza is associated is the second one. The Health Department continues to explore options to better respond to STIs in Manitowoc County. We have a guest speaker next month to discuss testing and treatment options that we can have. The jail vaccinations, we give them quarterly. Health Department is able to administer free influenza vaccines to any school-age children in Manitowoc County, regardless of insurance. 44 doses given thus far. Walk-ins and appointments for flu shots are welcome. Health representative from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services came for a compliance site. We received good report from the state. The WIC report, in December, we had 1,001 case participants and 599 families. Contracted caseload is 923. We also had a community health assessment presentation and the results of the community health assessments report. Our next meeting is February 9th at 5 p.m. at the Health Department. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Metzger. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Supervisor Falkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The meeting of the Manitowoc County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council was January 4th. The report for the drug court was Ellen Float reported currently 17 active participants. 3 applicants are waiting to begin. The last few months reflected on the adjustment for the new staff and for providers. Noted was the death in December of a graduate of the program. His overdose death showed how important an ongoing treatment and support is. The executive committee will return to in-person meeting on Thursdays at 12:15. The majority of the remainder of the meeting dwelled upon the committee's needs for guidance regarding the protocols and following county board rules. From that discussion, a proposal to list questions submitted to corporate counsel for clarification was later suggested and submitted. There was a question as to whether the original resolution to form the council provided advice to the county board or whether it was advisory to the members' agencies. The council was reminded that it's only advisory and is at the pleasure of the county board. Another topic discussed was about the council's standings and as it has with the county board and its member agencies. Discussion about the role of the county and the county's executive committee involving the drug court grant. Some of that discussion was induced when I noticed after reading the final submitted grant, a request for a goal percentage change, that would be worthy of understanding that logic. And after that meeting, I did in fact contact the director about the topic. A question was also posed that I posed was whether the council should take a position regarding legalization of controlled substances, given the position that the drug court asked for sobriety actions and to mitigate the use of substance abuse. Several members spoke against the action because it compromises their standings adjudicating drug cases. The conclusion, the council intentionally prefers to avoid construed possible political issues. And finally, a member asked to discuss the Wisconsin CJCC Race Equity, Inclusion, and Access State Committee, advocating for us to have a subcommittee for consideration. Attorney Larson indicated she would like to have a group organized to explore it. Ironically, the previous discussion invoking similar thoughts to wonder about possible political positions, a decision was then referred to the executive committee and it can be addressed at their meeting. The next meeting date is scheduled for March 1st. Thank you, and that is my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Falkowski. Executive Committee. We met last week to discuss the resolution to establish the special committee to discuss the courthouse dome project. That resolution is before you. We decided we'd like to get it to the full county boards. That way everybody can be a part of the discussion and we can move forward with creating this committee. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve the resolution. Motion by Supervisor Durrell, second by Supervisor Bry. Any discussion? Okay. Supervisor Benke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I had stated at the committee level, I was a little concerned about the fact that, to make sure that we weren't putting the cart before the horse and making what I look at the current resolution as an intent to do the project. So I'm going to offer up an amendment to, in the line 38, to say to go ahead or not go ahead with the project to repair dome, replace the windows, and replace the HVAC systems. Kind of predicated to that, line 35, whereas after careful consideration and review of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Manitowoc wishes explore the project with understanding that the following constitute major decision checkpoints. I want to make sure that the first checkpoint be to go ahead or not to go ahead with the project to repair the dome, replace the windows, and replace the HVAC system. So I put that as an amendment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Benke. We have a motion to amend. Is there a second? Supervisor Falkowski. Any discussion on the amendment? All right, seeing none, the clerk will conduct the vote.
Supervisors will vote on the motion to amend Resolution 2022-2023-48 after line 38, adding bullet point to go ahead or not go ahead with the project to repair the dome, repair the windows, and replace the HVAC system.
And that amendment is approved unanimously, so it now becomes part of the original resolution. Any further discussion on the full resolution? Supervisor Benke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one other
Thank you, Supervisor Benke. Is there any other discussion on the resolution? All right, seeing none, the clerk will Supervisor Zimmer.
Yeah, well then who will make the decision on those two additional members? Will that be you? Will you be the decider? Because
Yes.
I think his idea is a good one.
Yes, as the resolution's written, I will be the one appointing the two citizen members. We talked about that a little bit at the executive committee. I too would like to see somebody with experience in major construction. That was part of the conversation, but we decided to leave it open because we didn't know who was going to apply or submit their interest. So when people are expressing their interest on the committee, I'll be looking for experience in projects like this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Zimmer. Supervisor Bry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess just to add to the discussion you just mentioned as well, and Supervisor Zimmer, remember the appointments are by the county board chair, subject to approval by the county board. So ultimately, the county board can, if the chairman recommends two people that the board does not like, the board can vote that down. So it is subject to approval by the county board. So there is definitely the oversight there. So thank you, just as a bullet point.
Is there any other discussion? Supervisor Metzger.
I know Kevin had mentioned something about the two people should be able to crawl in and this and that. I guess I don't feel that is that necessary. You might have two people that are really good in other issues or other, can see other things. And there's plenty on the county board that do have construction, so I don't feel that is really necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Metzger. Any other discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution expressing intent to explore courthouse dome project and establishing ad hoc courthouse dome advisory committee as amended.
All right, the resolution is adopted 23-1. Next, we have the Expo Ice Center Board. Supervisor Sikowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Expo Ice Center Board The next Expo Ice Center Board meeting will be held on February 1st at 7 p.m. at the Expo office. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Sikowitz. Finance Committee, Supervisor Bry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met prior to the county board meeting this evening. In addition to the normal household items, we have a resolution coming before the board tonight denying the claim submitted by the Wisconsin Realtors Association. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the resolution.
There's a motion. Do I see a second? Supervisor Bauman. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, the clerk will conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution denying claim for Wisconsin Realtors Association.
And the resolution is adopted unanimously. Do you have anything else, Supervisor Bry?
With that, our next scheduled Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, February 13th, 4:30 p.m. at the County Administration Building on South 9th Street. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Highway Committee, Supervisor Benke.
No report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Benke. Human Services Board, Supervisor Bry.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. No report is specifically, but our next meeting will be next Thursday, January 26th at 4:15 p.m. in the Human Services Building at the office off of J Street. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Land Conservation Committee and UW Extension Education and Agriculture Committee, Supervisor Wagner.
Thank you, Chairman Martell. The Land Conservation Committee will be meeting this week, Thursday, at 4:45 at the office complex. The UW Extension Education and Agricultural Committee will meet next February the 16th at the county office and at 4:45. We do have a grant for 2022-2023-50. The West Foundation Incorporated awards grants to arts and humanitarian, cultural and civic organizations centered on the Lakeshore area. UWX, the Manitowoc County, works with community partners to address food insecurity by increasing access to healthy, affordable, culturally appropriate, safe food through farmers market and community gardens. The UWX Manitowoc County has identified a total cost of approximately $30,000 for this project. I so move.
There's a motion by Supervisor Wagner. Do I see a second? Supervisor Engelbrecht. Any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution authorizing West Foundation grant.
And excuse me, the resolution passes unanimously. Anything else, Supervisor Wagner?
That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel, Supervisor Marsh.
Thank you. I have no report, but our next meeting is February 7th at 4:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Supervisor Falkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is more of an announcement than it is a report. The Public Safety Committee is scheduled for a meeting on February 8th at the C&T building at 5 p.m. At that meeting, we intend to do a tour of the Joint Dispatch Center following our reports. At this point, I'd also like to extend an invitation to any of the county board members to join us on that tour. For a lot of reasons, people like to see what's going on with the dispatch. This would be an opportunity to see exactly what the dispatch center has to be involved with. So if you have any information, contact me and I'll be happy to set it up, but it'll be at our meeting on February 8th. Thank you, that's my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Falkowski. Next is Public Works, Supervisor Droll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Public Works Committee met Wednesday, January 11th. We started the meeting with an annual update by UWGB Manitowoc Campus CEO Jamie Schramm. He updated the committee on the activities, programs, and attendance at the Manitowoc campus. Discussion followed. We discussed and reviewed the solid waste and recycling division. It was very interesting. The final report on the drug disposal, we collected 2,111 pounds of medications. When you think of the size of an aspirin, that's a lot of stuff. And that set a new record for the program. We also, the tire collection report, we collected over 20 tons of tires for 2022. So that's a lot of tires not going into the woods and the ditches and everywhere else you used to see them. So we reviewed and discussed the buildings and grounds division. We approved a pay request to Hammond Construction for $67,000 for the Courthouse Child Support Agency and Branch 4 remodeling project. We reviewed and discussed the communications division. Mr. Neuser gave a report on the public safety radio activities happening in the communication division, noting that the microwave replacement project on the county's public safety radio towers is in progress and nearing completion. The bid results on the sale of our surplus public safety radio equipment, we accepted the high bid of $80,300 from Baycom. That was $30,000 more than we expected that the value would be for those, so that was a good thing. We reviewed and discussed the information technology division and our update on our cybersecurity initiatives. We reviewed and discussed the Expo Ice Center, noting we're going to get a new rock pavilion this year, which is going to be a nice addition for out there. We reviewed and discussed the Finance Director's Expo Special Revenue Fund report, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Droll. Transportation Coordinating Committee, Supervisor Hacker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report, and the committee doesn't meet again until March.
All right, thank you. Announcements. So with the passage of the resolution, I'd be looking, part of the resolution is that 6 supervisors, in addition to Finance Chair, Public Works Chair, and the Executive Committee will be serving. So if you are interested, I know some of you have already expressed interest in serving on this committee to me. already, I'd appreciate if you talk to me and then follow up with an email so I have that in writing and can keep track of that. In addition, we're going to have the 2 citizen members. So if you have a constituent in mind in your districts or somebody in the community, please encourage them to reach out to me. I would appreciate it via email. They can express their interest, and I would also appreciate if they let me know a little bit about their background so that way I can bring forth some qualified citizen members for this committee for you. Any other announcements? Oh, yes, the February, thank you. Our February meeting, you saw the email, will begin a half hour earlier because of the primary election. So the February 21st meeting will be beginning at 5:30. Thank you, Supervisor Bry. There's a motion to adjourn, second by Supervisor Marish.